Giving this house to Akina is like putting a tiara on a pig. It is wasted. I watched my father say those exact words through the living room window while my sister Jasmine threw her head back and laughed. They were standing inside my house, throwing a massive launch party for her fake brand, drinking champagne paid for with money they stole from me. I looked down at the paper in my lap. The original property deed. They think I am a homeless drug addict, because that is the lie they told everyone to explain why I disappeared. They do not know I am actually the landlord. And they do not know I am about to turn off the lights on their entire life. 48 hours earlier, my hands were inside a stranger's chest cavity. That is the job. I am Akina, 26 years old, and I work trauma. You learn fast in the ER that panic is what kills you, not the bullet. You stop the bleeding, you assess the damage, and you make the cut. I was scrubbing out when my phone buzzed against my hip. I expected a lab result. Instead, I saw a credit monitoring alert. New line of credit opened for $150,000, secured by real estate asset. I stared at the screen. I did not apply for a loan. I did not even use credit cards. I swapped shifts and drove straight to the county recorder's office. I did not wait for an appointment. I knew exactly what to request. 10 minutes later, the clerk handed me a copy of a quitclaim deed. The document stated that I had voluntarily transferred my property, the house my grandfather bought for me, to an entity called Venture Horizon LLC. At the bottom was my signature. It was a decent forgery, shaky on the A, but close enough to pass a casual glance. My mind raced through the logistics. Banks require ID. They require a face-to-face signing. Then I remembered the box. When my parents kicked me out 2 years ago, they generously let me keep a box of high school junk in the attic. My old learner's permit was in there. My expired hospital badge. Jasmine is 3 years younger than me. But with a black wig and the right contouring, she looks enough like me to fool a bored notary in a strip mall. She did not just steal my house. She stole my face. I tracked down the notary who stamped the deed. He was a nervous man working out of a shipping center. I did not ask him nicely. I slammed my current, valid hospital ID on his counter and told him I was calling the Secretary of State to report fraud. He folded instantly. He opened his logbook. And there, right next to the forged signature, was a thumbprint. Mandatory by state law. That was not my print. That was Jasmine's. This was not a civil dispute anymore. It was a felony. I did not go to the police. Police take reports. They do not give you justice. I went to the one person who hates thieves more than I do. My grandfather. Gerald. He is 72. A retired corporate raider who eats distress signals for breakfast. I laid the deed and the photos of the notary logbook on his desk. He did not yell. He did not gasp. He just put on his glasses and read. Venture Horizon, he muttered, looking up the LLC registration on his laptop. Registered agents, Kimberly and Dennis. My parents. He looked at me, his eyes cold. They did not just steal it to live in it. Akina. They stole it to leverage it. They took out $150,000 against the equity. Why? I asked. Because Jasmine's lifestyle brand is bankrupt, he said, turning the screen to show me her declining metrics. They are cannibalizing your assets to keep her floating. They are betting your future on her vanity. He leaned back, steepling his fingers. We have them, Akina. The thumbprint puts Jasmine in prison. The fraud puts your parents on the street. We can call the cops right now. He paused, looking at me over the rim of his glasses. Or, we can let them think they got away with it. We can let them dig the hole so deep they can never climb out. Do you want them arrested? Or do you want them ruined? I thought about the years they treated me like a bad investment. I thought about the drug addict lie they used to explain my absence. Ruined, I said. I want them absolutely ruined. We incorporated Apex Capital the next morning. It took 40 minutes and $200 in filing fees. My grandfather did not need a boardroom to destroy them. He just needed a letterhead. We built a website filled with stock photos of glass buildings and buzzwords like synergy and disruptive growth. To a real investor, it looked generic. To my parents, it looked like the answer to their prayers. Gerald made the call. He did not introduce himself as my grandfather. He introduced himself as the senior managing partner of Apex Capital, a firm looking to acquire high-potential lifestyle brands. He told them he had been tracking Jasmine's social media engagement, which was a lie. Her engagement is bot traffic, and that he saw unicorn potential. He offered to meet them for lunch, not at a restaurant, but at a private club downtown where membership costs more than my annual salary. He set the stage perfectly. He wore his Italian suit, ordered the most expensive scotch, and let them talk. I was not there. But Gerald recorded the audio. I listened to it later in his office. My mother, Kimberly, sounded breathless, desperate to impress. My father, Dennis, used words like market penetration and brand equity while having zero understanding of either. Jasmine just giggled and talked about her vision. Then Gerald dropped the hammer. "We are prepared to acquire the Jasmine Vance brand for $2 million, he said. I heard the sharp intake of breath from my mother. $2 million. It was enough to pay off their debts, fund their lifestyle, and validate every delusion they ever held. However, Gerald added, his voice smooth as silk, Apex Capital focuses on tangible assets. We are not just buying the name. We are buying the infrastructure. The acquisition is contingent on the brand owning a flagship showroom. That modern estate you are operating out of. The glass house. That needs to be part of the portfolio. Debt-free. Clean title. It is, my father lied instantly. We own it outright. It is the crown jewel. Excellent, Gerald said. Then we can fast-track the closing, prove the title is clean, and I will wire the $2 million. They walked out of that lunch drunk on greed. They did not question why a stranger wanted to give them a fortune. They only saw what they wanted to see. That night, my phone lit up with notifications. Jasmine was live streaming. I clicked the link. The camera panned around my living room, the room I designed, the room they stole. My parents were popping bottles of Dom Perignon. James, Jasmine's fiancé, was toasting to visionaries. Then the camera landed on my father. He was red-faced, holding a glass high. To strategy, Dennis announced to the room full of strangers. Some people might say we pushed the envelope to get here, but business is about management. He laughed, a wet, ugly sound. We did not steal a house, we reallocated resources. Giving this estate to Akina would be like putting a tiara on a pig. It is wasted. Jasmine is the high-yield asset. And look at us now. $2 million valuation. I watched the video loop. Tiara on a pig. He admitted it. He admitted he viewed me as livestock. Something to be managed and discarded. While Jasmine was the investment. He toasted to his own crime. Thinking he had pulled off the heist of the century. He did not know the check was blank. He did not know the investor was the man who taught me how to read a balance sheet. And he certainly did not know that to get that imaginary $2 million, he was going to have to prove he owned a house that still legally belonged to the pig. The trap was set. Now we just had to close the door. The hangover from their victory party had not even faded when the doorbell rang at 9 the next morning. My parents were expecting a wire transfer. Instead, they got Silas. Silas is an old associate of my grandfather's. He looks like a man who audits funerals for fun. He walked into the glass house carrying a briefcase and the air of impending doom. I was not in the room, but the audio feed from the bug we planted in the floral arrangement was crystal clear. "Mr. and Mrs. Vance," Silas said, skipping the pleasantries. "We have completed the preliminary title search for the acquisition." "Great," my father said. I could hear the smile in his voice. "So when do we sign?" "We do not," Silas replied. The silence that followed was heavy. "There is a lien on the property. A home equity line of credit for $150,000. The title is not clean. That is just a leverage instrument." My father stammered. "We will pay it off from the proceeds of the sale. Deduct it from the $2 million. Apex Capital does not acquire debt," Silas said. His voice was flat, bored. "Our charter forbids purchasing assets with outstanding encumbrances. We require a clean chain of title at the time of signing. But you represented this property as unencumbered." Silas cut him off. "This changes the risk profile. The partners are ready to walk." "No." My mother's voice pitched high. "No, please. We can fix this. Just give us a little time." "The offer expires in 24 hours, Silas said. "Provide proof that the lien has been satisfied and the title is clear by noon tomorrow, or the deal is dead. Good day." The door clicked shut. Then the screaming started. I sat in my grandfather's office, listening to the panic unravel. They were trapped, and they did not even understand the mechanics of the cage. This is the cost of ignorance. My parents thought they were real estate moguls because they knew how to spend equity. But they did not understand the difference between valuation and ownership. They looked at the house and saw a $2 million price tag. They forgot that debt attaches to the deed like a parasite. To sell the house to a legitimate buyer, or a fake one with strict rules, you have to kill the parasite first. They had treated the house like a credit card, maxing it out to fund Jasmine's lifestyle. Now, the bill was due, and they could not use the house to pay for the house. They needed outside cash. "Where are we going to get $150,000 by tomorrow?" Jasmine shrieked. "James, you said you had crypto assets." "I cannot liquidate right now," James said, his voice slippery. "The market is down. I would take a bath." "We cannot lose this deal," my father yelled. "It is $2 million, Jasmine. We are set for life if we close this." "Then pay it," Jasmine screamed back. You have your retirement accounts. You have the IRAs. That is our future, my mother cried. That is everything we have left. You will get it back 10 times over tomorrow, Dennis shouted. Do you not get it? We spend 150 today, we get 2 million tomorrow. It is a no-brainer. I took off the headphones. It was a no-brainer. Greed had bypassed their survival instincts. They were staring at the cheese so hard they did not notice the metal bar snapping back. They were about to liquidate their actual safety net, to pay off the mortgage on a house they did not own, all to chase a pot of gold that did not exist. They are going to do it, I told my grandfather. He nodded, turning the page of his newspaper. Of course they are. Pigs get fat. Hogs get slaughtered. At 10:15 in the morning, my parents walked into their bank branch. I know the exact time because I have the transaction log. They did not walk in like people facing a crisis. They walked in like high rollers about to close the deal of the century. They were vibrating with that specific kind of manic energy you see in gamblers right before they put the mortgage on red. They sat down with the branch manager, a guy named Rick, who had managed their retirement accounts for 20 years. Rick tried to save them. He really did. He looked at the withdrawal forms for their IRAs and their emergency savings, and he turned pale. Dennis, Kimberly, he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. You understand what you are doing, right? This is a full liquidation. If you pull this money out before retirement age, the IRS hits you with a 10% penalty immediately. Plus the bank fees for an expedited wire. You are lighting $15,000 on fire just to move this cash today. My father did not flinch. He leaned forward, his face flushed with the arrogance of a man who thinks he is smarter than the math. It is bridge capital, Rick, Dennis said loud enough for the tellers to hear. We are closing a $2 million acquisition tomorrow. 15 grand is a rounding error. Just cut the check. Rick hesitated. He looked at my mother. Kimberly, this is your safety net. If this deal falls through, it will not fall through, she snapped. Her hands were shaking as she signed the release forms. She was not thinking about safety nets. She was thinking about the country club membership and the vindication of proving everyone wrong. She was thinking about the tiara. Standing behind them, leaning against the wall in a slim-fit suit, was James. He checked his watch every 30 seconds. He did not put a dime of his own money into the pot. He claimed his assets were illiquid in crypto staking pools. But he was more than happy to act as the foreman of their destruction. We are burning daylight, Dennis, James said, tapping his wrist. The wire cutoff is at 2. If that lien isn't cleared by noon tomorrow, Apex walks. That was all it took. My father slammed his hand on the desk. Do it, Rick. Wire the funds to the mortgage lender. Pay off the HELOC on the Briarcrest property. Expedited. Rick hit enter. In seconds, my parents' net worth went to zero. They wired $150,000 to clear the lien on my house, unknowingly paying off my mortgage with their retirement savings. They thought they were clearing title to sell the property. They didn't own it. I did. By satisfying the debt, they gifted me a debt-free asset worth $1.2 million and paid a $15,000 penalty to do it. They celebrated, believing $2 million was coming the next day. They had no idea the trap was sealed. At the Four Seasons, my parents signed closing affidavits and a personal guarantee, pledging their remaining assets against fraud. They proudly presented the bank receipt proving the HELOC was paid. Gerald paused and asked for authorization from the silent partner. When the door unlocked, I walked in. I slid the notarized quitclaim record across the table. Forged signatures. Forged thumbprints. I was the silent partner. I was also the landlord. Thanks to their wire, I now owned the property outright. When my mother claimed they lied to protect me, I showed the rejection letter from my dream residency. They had told the hospital I was unstable and addicted to cover their eviction and deed fraud. They didn't protect me. They destroyed my career. There was no deal. The investment entity was a shell. The money was gone. James walked out, disengaging himself from the collapse. Gerald explained the consequences. Forged deeds meant contract fraud. Their remaining assets could be seized. I offered terms vacate within 1 hour and avoid prosecution. They ran. The house sold 3 days later for $1.2 million. Pure profit. I kept enough for a quiet home near the hospital and placed the rest into a scholarship fund for nursing students abandoned by their families. That night, I deleted the evidence. I didn't feel victorious, just free. Family isn't blood. It's who stands with you when the ledger turns red. If you're being treated like an asset instead of a human, close the deal.